So if you want a glimpse of how the Soviet Union operates, maybe even China, just look at the United States Congress today. The Democrat-led House is conducting a partisan probe into the role, quote, misinformation played in the January 6th Capitol Hill security breach. But the hearing today was short on facts and long on opinion. It amounted to theater, all in an effort to destroy right-of-center media outlets like Newsmax, OAN, and even Fox News.
Media, disguised as journalism, has been spreading lies for years, elevating liars and using the ensuing slugfest to chase ratings, hits, subscriptions, advertisers. Period. Full stop.
Well, do you see who the Democrats pick as their star witness in their quest to stomp out free speech? Former NBC and CNN anchor Soledad O'Brien. This is a woman who has a long history of pushing conspiracy theories and left-wing fake news talking points. When the Jussie Smollett case first broke, O'Brien quickly took to Twitter, writing, "Racially charged is not a thing. It's just racist," she tweeted in the response to the now debunked story that white Trump supporters beat up a black actor named Jussie Smollett. Turns out the whole story was a hoax. And speaking of hoaxes, O'Brien couldn't help but ferociously peddle the Trump-Russia collusion narrative that we now know was also totally bogus. And she slammed those teens from Covington Catholic as well, tweeting, "What morning show books the Covington teens and their moms? Do they ask for forgiveness or tearfully explain it's not what it looked like in the video?" She jumped aboard the fake news attack train, and she is the witness that we should believe in these congressional hearings? I don't think so. Democrat Jerry McNerney wrote a letter to cable and satellite providers pushing them to have Newsmax deplatformed, snuffed out. Well, today he leveled this slanderous accusation.
You know, rampant disinformation and conspiracy theories that we witnessed to overturn the election results led to the insurrection on the United States Capitol and pose a grave threat to our safety, security, and way of life. But the foundation of our democracy is rooted in truth.
Well, it is rooted in truth, but he didn't offer up one piece of evidence to prove what he was trying to say there, that somehow Newsmax started all of the nonsense at the Capitol. It didn't. Newsmax didn't peddle conspiracy theories. Look, I provided our viewers with a look at the evidence surrounding the election, and I demanded investigations be conducted. From ballots under the tables, remember those, to widespread vote counting abnormalities and statistically impossible outcomes in favor of a weak candidate named Joe Biden. But no one working at Newsmax, including myself, ever claimed there was fraud, that there was a rigged election, only that we need a real investigation to see what was going on. That is not disinformation. That is our right, and it's what real news outlets do. But the meaning of the First Amendment is lost on these people.
The most important principle of democracy is the freedom of speech and expression. But I worry that we are crossing into yelling fire in a theater.
Well, I worry that you're still a Republican and still in office. That, of course, is Adam Kinzinger. He is fighting for the exact opposite of freedom of speech. But why be surprised? He's a Trump hater, remember? It is no coincidence that the only news outlets being questioned today are the only three outlets that aren't liberal. They are going to try to tell me that CNN and MSNBC never yell fire in a theater, as they say. Even the name for the hearing today was ridiculous. It was called "Fanning the Flames of Disinformation and Extremism." The title itself is misleading, biased, and flat out wrong, but it sure provides for sensationalism, doesn't it?
Disinformation and extremism.
Disinformation, conspiracy theory, and lies.
Disinformation and extremism.
Disinformation.
Over and over and over again. Disinformation offered up with really no proof at all. Again, they failed to offer up this proof that conservative media sparked any riot or insurrection, only that we offered a different view. And unity to the left, it's become very clear, only means compliance with their left-wing views. And that goes for the media too. If you want real examples of extremism, falsities, and conspiracy theories, one only has to look past Newsmax and Fox News straight to this.
Donald Trump is an unwitting agent of Russia's Vladimir Putin.
There was collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin.
The possibility of collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign.
Whether there was collusion between President Trump's campaign and the Russians.
Whether Donald Trump himself is just a puppet for the Kremlin.
And they're holding hearings about us. Do you believe this? This is what happens when you install a socialist into government. They attack their political foes. Here's the most ironic part of this whole story. While the other networks like CNN and MSNBC operate with real lies and false accusations, still, I don't want them taken off the air. Why? Because I believe in freedom. And that free speech is the cornerstone of a free society. They don't believe that, though. Well, when those two anti-freedom Democrats wrote a letter pushing for conservative media to be deplatformed from cable and news outlets and satellite providers, FCC Commissioner Brandon Carr fired back, writing, "I call on my FCC colleagues to join me in publicly denouncing this attempt to stifle political speech and independent news judgment." Well, joining me now is Republican Commissioner for the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr. Commissioner, welcome to the program.
Great to join you. Thanks for having me.
So you called on your colleagues to join you. Anybody do it, or are you standing here alone?
Well, my call has unfortunately been met largely by silence. I do have one Republican colleague on the commission. He also issued a statement strongly backing what I had said in calling this out. Let's be very clear about what we're seeing this week. The Democrat lawmakers in Congress are selectively targeting newsrooms and journalists because of the political viewpoint and perspective that they bring to political events. That is a chilling infringement on free speech rights. They're sending a clear message that if you don't get on board and toe the Democrat orthodoxy when it comes to these political issues, there will be a price to pay.
All right, Commissioner, Jessica Rosenworcel, if I say her name correctly, is the chairwoman of the FCC. She's a Democrat. When President Trump called to pull licenses from some of the other networks that he dubbed as fake news, even I came out and said, you can't do that because of free speech issues. She basically said, and I quote her, "This is an assault on free expression." But now when the tables are turned, she is silent. So my biggest fear is, can the FCC be weaponized under a Biden presidency against outlets like Newsmax?
I think this is a moment where all of us on the FCC should speak up and denounce this infringement of free speech. The letters, for instance, that were sent this week by the Democrat lawmakers went to entities that we regulate at the FCC. So there could be a potential for retribution there. I don't think we're going to go down that particular path, but here's why. The greatest threat to free speech in this country right now is not a law, whether it's passed by Congress or taken by us at the FCC, because the First Amendment is there, and that would bar that action. The greatest threat is what I call legislating by letterhead. These lawmakers know that they don't need to pass a law. All they can do is send these letters and engage in a pressure campaign with advertisers or otherwise and get the same result they want in a way that they think makes an end run around the First Amendment. That's what's so dangerous right now, is not passing laws, which the First Amendment protects, but this culture we have on pressuring people to silence others.
All right, so I want to get back to this question because I do think it's important, Commissioner. The Democrats now will have a 3-2 majority on the FCC commission. Can the FCC regulate Newsmax, One American News, Fox News out of existence, or make it very difficult if they want to go down the political road? Is that a concern that we need to have when you look at liberals in government weaponizing government against political foes?
Well, the real risk we have here is that this letter was sent to the cable channels that carry Newsmax and Fox News, and the effort is to put pressure on those cable channels to drop these stations. And the Democrats' view, this is a conversation right now that you and I are having about core political issues that they don't think your viewers should be allowed to see. So that's the real threat, is these pressure campaigns on cable. And what's so interesting to me is that This isn't an earnest but misguided attempt to get at, quote, disinformation. If it was, they would be hauling in front of them, as you pointed out, newsrooms from MSNBC and CNN. I absolutely do not believe Congress should do that. But if they did that, that would at least show that they are earnest in not just making this a partisan political exercise.
Mm-hmm. Which clearly it was. Commissioner Brendan Carr, I appreciate your letter that you wrote. It was an honest assessment, really, of the First Amendment. I don't care what party you're from. I mean, anybody that supports the Constitution should have really supported your letter. And anyway, I thank you for it. And, of course, I thank you for coming on the program, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Emma Reckenberg here. If you like this video, there's a whole lot more to see on Newsmax TV. You can watch for free right here on our YouTube live stream and be the first one here each time our experts break down real news. Just hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, and stay with us on America's fastest growing cable news channel, Newsmax TV.